All right, there we go. I hope I have it in full screen mode because I'm not really good with technology, but I'm trying. Um, so the takeaway, uh, I'll do this as quick as I possibly can. But I've taught golf for close to 40 years, and I've certainly developed my own unique methodology of teaching golf. But man, I've been able to help thousands of people get better at golf. First, we're going to start with just the mechanics of a good takeaway. So there's just the physical part. I'm also going to talk about the other part of golf that rarely gets addressed, and that is golf isn't just physical; it's also very mental. It's really simple. I'm not smart enough to make it complex, I promise. But your brain has to tell your body what to do. You don't wave hi to somebody until the thought hits, right? Thoughts drive what the body does. If you're thinking about 400-yard drives, you're not fixing to swing real smooth. You know what I mean? Thoughts, they drive what our bodies do. So I'm going to give you a thought that goes along with the physical concept that I'm going to share with you. And I'm going to share a really it's pretty simple, but can be very, very intense spiritual concept that goes along with those. Golf is physical, it's also mental, and it's also spiritual, should you care to look at it. Look, I'm not here to force my beliefs or anything like that on anybody. I'm just going to check out some ideas. I hope they help you. They'll definitely help your golf game. So, anyway, let's get into the golf lesson. On the takeaway, literally years and years and years of watching it, and I'd say 99% of recreational players in some form or fashion from the start of their swing get the club too far behind their body. You can see how in this example that I'm giving here, I can't really see myself. I hope it's filming right. But the club gets like behind my butt cheeks on the takeaway. When the shaft of the club gets to parallel, I define that as the takeaway portion of the backswing. The club head gets behind them, and specifically behind the hands and all the way behind the rump. And sometimes it's just really, really far back here. What we want and what you see 98% of good players do really good. If you're talking about the elite PGA Tour players, and yeah, I would hazard a guess it's around the 98 percentile. Is that club head stays in front of their hands and in front of their body on the way back? Most often now, if the guy that's a guy or girl that's hitting the golf ball is age 30 or less, then the club head is somewhere in front of their hands on the takeaway. So I at least want you to get it parallel with your body lines, which hopefully, if you're lined up right, is parallel to the line you're trying to hit the golf ball down. Because what you can see is the geometry here just makes a whole lot of sense. If I'm trying to hit a golf ball straight in front of me into that driving range, I could practically shoot Novocaine in my arms, and if I drop this club, the ball's going to be going that direction. And you can see how convoluted it is when the club gets behind me. Then, if I drop my hands or don't tense up and try to reroute the club, the club's not going to be going in a good direction, and the club's moving in a bad direction. The face of the club's in a terrible direction. So you just make it really difficult on yourself when you just get things kicked off in the wrong direction. So this is what it's all we're going to do, and it looks so simple and sounds so simple, and most people say, oh, okay, I'll start doing that. It's not that simple. I'm kind of grateful that it's not that simple, or else I'd go out of business. But physically, it's incredibly simple. You're just taking the club and keeping the club head in front of your hands and keeping the club shaft straight in front of you. You'll notice that the leading edge of the club, let me get a little closer, the leading edge of the club, the one that sits on the ground, is kind of tilted in, and you typically want to see that the edge of that golf club match up with your spine angle that you set at address if you're in good posture, right? And it's in here. So here would be that would be an open club face, that would be a closed club face, and clinically perfect is if it matches up exactly with your spine angle on the way back. That means zero compensations to square it back up at the moment of truth, the moment of impact to hit the golf ball. Where so can you not hit a golf ball straight unless you do this? That's categorically untrue. You could take it a lot of places. My point is you got to do a lot of things to get the club to square up in order for it to go straight if you do that. So we're just trying to take out all those um, what would be necessary uh, compensations become unnecessary if you just get the club in this ridiculously simple condition. It is fascinating how such a simple activity can be so hard to do for most of us. I'm a human. There comes in some of the mental stuff. So I'm going to use a physical tool that also turns into uh, a really nice little mental thing. In other words, this is what I want you to think about. It's a pool floaty, very technologically advanced golf training aid. You can get it at my website for 3 easy payments of Dollar Tree, $1.25. Why did the Dollar Tree go to $1.25? I'm still kind of upset about that. Oh well, I digress. I've also got because I'm inside and I'm on cement. Then I build a little stand out of PVC pipes. It's not much either. If you're on grass, this drill is very easily done with just an alignment stick that most people have, and you'll just poke it in the ground at where I'm going to show you where to put the pool floaty. When I'm teaching at the Golf Center of Arlington, or I'm teaching here in my home bay, a lot of times we're in an environment where I'm on cement, so that's what this is for. But it's not necessary. You don't necessarily have to have it. Oh, I would stress this though: if you use an alignment stick, it's really good. I often, even when I'm on the grass with alignment sticks, I'll sleeve the alignment stick with a pool floaty. It avoids hitting it and getting those fiberglass splinters in your fingers and stuff, because we want to be perfect, but sometimes you're going to hit it. And also with it's a little bigger and colorful, so peripheral vision, you can kind of see it a little better. Anyway, it's just kind of a personal preference, but at least get yourself an alignment stick, poke it in the ground in the position I'm about to show you. I use pool floaties and sticks for a lot of different concepts. It's just, what are you doing wrong? I'll put something in the way that'll not let you do it. So in the takeaway, I'm moving a little forward. I think the camera angle will be better. Then you just stand it straight up beside you, and I like to see it, somewhere around the balls of my feet, even with the balls of my feet, maybe up to the toes of your feet. It really depends on each individual and how you set up to the golf ball, but somewhere around there, so that when your takeaway happens, the shaft is pretty straight with your body lines, and you see that face angle is down. What kills this is all I have to do is roll my arms. If my arms start rolling, which is the most natural thing in the world to do, is to roll the club away, then the club gets behind you. So what you really see is a very relaxed but restricted um, arm and hand rotation. They just stay in front of me. Now, if you do it too much, what you start seeing is like you're not rotating your arm at all. The club face is pointed down at the ground. That's severely closed, and you'll dig a lot of ditches. And it's good for finding fishing bait under the driving range, but it's not so great for your golf shots. So you don't want it facing the ground, and you don't want it completely towed up at this point, but a little bit. Again, if the leading edge of that club matches up with your spine angle, then you're in a clinically or geometrically perfect condition of the golf swing. And that pool float is just in the way, and will help you not do it. Mental, oh, it's like very deep. I'm not sure I can explain it to you. It's this easy. Instead of thinking about trying to hit good shots and turning your shoulders, I just want you to, during this drill, think of one thing. Do not touch this pool floaty or alignment stick, whichever one you're using. Let it be the only thought that you allow in your head. Don't make a swing. Don't hit a ball. I want you to rehearse it 5 to 10 times with no ball in front of you. So I kick the ball out of the way, and then I take it to there. I double check it that everything's right. Even move the leading edge around so it's as close as I can get it to perfect, and then just kind of drop down like I was making a practice swing to feel myself moving into the shot from this clinically good position. Look, you probably have a habit of getting the club behind yourself, and that's what you're used to. This, as simple as it looks, will feel very uncomfortable at first, even though it looks so correct. There's no way you're looking at it and going, "Oh, there's no way you can't do it." It's correct. This is really hard. This is going to be really easy. Because it is change and we are human, then sometimes it's not real easy. So don't throw in the impulse to try it out and see if you can hit some balls with it. Just calm down, move the ball out of the way, move back and forth from not touching the pool floating to just coming down, not touching the pool floating, then coming down. Then I want you to add a ball, but I want you to go at the same pace. So you're only trying to hit. This is really good to do with your wedges. In fact, I've got one here. Pick any of your wedges, because Bonus buck. Now you're working on your short game as well. But you just go to here and just chip it. A, um, a 2 yard chip or whatever. Don't go fast. You just go. You can build that up a little bit, but still chipping. So very light chips, but don't hit any past like 10 yards. Get it here, jostle yourself around, whatever it takes to get the club from there, and then just chip it. All you're doing is getting used to striking a golf ball from this condition instead of that weird condition that you were in, if that makes sense. As we progress into the full swing, I got to move this back a little bit because I don't have a mat this far up, but I think hopefully you can still see the pool floaty. So at any rate, I'm going to keep it in the same distance. Let me show you this. I'll put it this way first. In setting this up, when you're starting to make full swings with it, you want to make sure that the head of the club is even with the pool floaty, and don't get the shaft of the club into the pool floaty. The reason is, once you go up and make a full swing on the way down, you'll hit it if you're at the shaft. If the pool floaty is just far enough away so that just the head would reach it, if you go inside and hit it just the head, then when you go up, due to the transfer of weight and rotation, the club actually gets significantly inside. So on the downswing, you won't hit it on the way down. It's not catastrophic if you're using a pool floaty or the stick for that matter, but you just don't want to. You don't want to hit it, and you don't want it to be distracting in the motion of trying to actually hit the golf ball. Now I'm going into to make a full swing with this setup. Here's what I'm gonna tell you: don't do it as fast as I've done it in here. Do a lot of repetitions, a whole lot of those little pitch shots until you get really comfortable with it. When you first do these swings, you make them super slow. Sometimes I'll have students stop right here, go to the top, and then just kind of gently chip it off into the range. But don't just all of a sudden give it your Sunday punch right off the bat. So eventually you can. The entire point is to get used to this better takeaway, and as long as you're avoiding the wow, that was pretty good. As long as you're avoiding the pool floaty, it's all a success. Whether you hit a good shot, whether you shank it, whether you whatever, if you don't touch this, it's a success. So I'd mentioned the thing that sometimes makes people a little bit nervous, that there's a spiritual side to what I teach as well. I want you to just look at it this way. When I talk about the spiritual side, I am generally referring to a single word: desire. In other words, what do we want? What do you want? If it's in golf and you're standing over the golf ball, what do you want? Well, I want to hit a good shot. I want to hit it far. I want to hit it straight. I want to make birdies. I want. Yeah, I feel you. We're I said golf was physical, mental, and also spiritual. Mental, where does it come from? If you're a human, then we tend to think about what we want, right? So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Prioritize this pool floaty or alignment stick that you have. And I want you to use some creativity. We're going to pretend this pool floaty. What if I did this? And what if it was real? Like there's no I'm not kidding. This is literally what I would bring to you on the tee. Is my own personal pool floaty is actually a family heirloom. My mom passed away a couple of years ago. She was my absolute best friend. I miss her so bad. It's the only thing I have to remember her by is this pool floaty. It's not a regular pool floaty. It's made out of glass. In fact, really fine crystal. So if you brush it, it's going to shatter it. And I set it up and I go, look, dude, I trust you. Don't touch it. Here's my point. If this pool floaty is mine and it's a family heirloom, the question I have to ask you is this: are you selfish enough to also want to hit a good golf shot, or would you just make sure that you showed me the love and you don't break my pool floaty? Mm. If you go to it with that kind of heart, that pool floaty is actually the priority in your golf swing by a very large margin, then that's where you'll put the club. It's not physically hard in one way, shape, or form. I can prove it. You can do it 1,000 times in a row in a practice swing. Practice swings are fascinating to me. Practice swings, to me, absolutely define the spiritual parts of golf. Why is mine, yours, every human being on the planet, why is it so easy to do the right thing in a practice swing? And then you stick a ball in front of us and we struggle so hard to do the same exact thing that we probably just did. Desire. Like, what do you want when you're swinging through the air? Goose egg. When a human being is not in a state of trying to fulfill their own will, they're not trying to gratify themselves, they absolutely want nothing, then doing the wrong thing, the Bible would refer to it as sin, is practically impossible. There's a biblical concept called surrender. You should try it. You know what else is really fascinating to me? When you don't prioritize the shot, in other words, if I'm not even going to grade myself on whether or not I hit it good, how hard is golf if you don't have to hit a good shot? It's not so hard. How hard is life if you don't have to live up to the world standard of success? Not nearly as hard as we make it. A lot of mental illnesses, a lot of stress, a lot of I can't sleep comes from trying to hit good shots. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the pool floating. What I'm going to ask you to do, not to get too over the top on the spiritual sides of things, but man, I think the correlations can get really loud. Prioritize it and let yourself hit bad shots if you have to until you get used to it. As long as you don't touch that pool floating in a golf swing, it's good. I'm not asking you to be a martyr. When you keep putting the club in the kind of conditions that almost all good players put the club, it will either quickly or it might take some time, maybe eventually, but it will pay off. You will become a much better player. It takes this word called commitment. Commitment can be a really hard thing. It's not hard to commit to something and you go, man, I did that and I hit it great every single time I swing the club. It goes, yeah. Well, that's a YouTube video, not a real life video. Good fundamental positions in your golf swing will produce good, consistent results in your golf game. So all I'm trying to say is delay it a little bit. Good form is always going to prove itself. When you look at a really good, fundamentally sound swing, what would you expect would happen? It's going to produce a good shot. Shift your focus from, I got to hit it good right now, to, hey, I'm going to build a really strong fundamental golf swing. That is something that will last and will stand up. And I can't help it. It just hit my head. But in the Bible, it literally says, "Build your foundation on a rock." There was a wise builder and the foolish builder. If you went to vacation Bible school even once in your childhood, then that was one of the scriptures you learned. The foundation built on the rock stood up when the storms come, and the one that they built on the sand washed away when the storms came. I mean, most people's golf games are so sandy. I mean, they just every day figure out a new configuration that'll help them hit it good and help them hit it good and help them hit. That's all I'm saying. Stop it. This is fundamentally absolutely correct. Do the drill. Think about the pool floaty. Desire the pool floaty. I would leave you with this. And excuse me, I got to get I got to get my iPad for this one because I think it's really. I think it's a scripture that goes best with it, and I'm horrible at memorizing anything, including scripture, which makes me a terrible person, I know, but it is what it is. But in John 13, verses 34 and 35, Jesus himself speaking, it's in the red letters, he says, "A new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this, all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." The part that yells at me is this: is a new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you, as Jesus has loved us. The dominant characteristic of Jesus' love that screams at me is sacrifice. He died so that we could have eternal life and a relationship with God and everything. Look, I'm not trying to get all preachy, and let me give you a disclaimer. I am most certainly not a pastor. I am most certainly not a seminary student. If you study the Bible at all, you probably study it more than I do and know more than I. I don't know why. It's just these messages just scream out loud when I'm teaching golf and when I'm trying to get better at golf myself. And I've been told to share it with you. So there it is. Get mad, get glad or whatever. So let me ask you this: on the life side of things, what's your pool floaty? You know what I'm saying? Is everything, every response that you have in life, like mine tends to be towards what I want, or do you have a pool floaty? Often we call those wives. Often we call those our children. Often we call those our parents. Often we call those our siblings. Often, are 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 you saying, well, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting what I want. It's not the path to greatness. It's the pathway to constant compensations, and greatness can't be around when you have to make too many compensations. Love me enough not to break my family heirloom. Yeah, well, love those around you enough not to break them just because you're trying to get where you want to go. That is a pathway that will never lead you astray. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Do the dang drill, man. Like it's amazing. People pay me like $100 an hour to give them this just insanely correct advice, and then once they leave, they never do this drill again. It just fascinates me. It's good. It's like a little annuity to me because if you don't use this, you're probably not going to break the habit. You don't know if you're ripping it inside. You just think you're taking it straight away, but if you were to film it, you'd see when you feel inside, you're probably back here. Don't trust your feelings. You got to wait until your feel gets real. Do this enough times, and you will begin to grow a feel for where that club is going. All right. Have a good day. I hope it helps.